God damn it. What the? I wasn't even in front of it. Oh, you piece of crap. I'm gonna eat a stack here. Blech. Oh, boo. Oh, I'm gonna get another stack here. God damn it.
Come on, why isn't blocking? Jesus Christ.
Oh, I think we got it.
We did it.
Ooh, suck a dick. Nice job. Nice job.
Yeah, I was blocking and it wouldn't go for some reason.
How is it going, YouTube? I hope you're having a wonderful week. I've been grinding the Tempest Heart mutation, which just got released on the live servers. Unfortunately, my regular group hasn't had a chance to get together yet, so I've been pugging it. I'm sure many of you have experienced this, but yeah, some pugs are better than others. A couple things have held true, though. Number one, people who cheese the Neishatun boss fight until the devs fix the exploits really have no idea what to do now. And two, just saying stay out of the circles doesn't really help anyone. Also, bonus truth, if you aren't a tank, gear really doesn't matter much for this fight. Experience, on the other hand, will, and lots of constitution. I've got more than a dozen experiences with the fight now, so I wanted to provide a quick guide on this encounter from a melee DPS point of view, which seems to have the hardest time with this fight. So my hope is it helps you in your pug adventures as well. None of us want to be the weakest link, right? So let's get into it.
Hansu.
Neishatun is the second to last boss in the Tempest Heart dungeon. He's a fire-based corrupted snake thing with a lot of range attacks. The encounter has a reputation of being pretty tough, especially for pugs. There is stuff you have to watch out for constantly. Your team really has to be on top of their own game, or things can go sideways fast. Carries here are pretty difficult. All that said, this is an awesomely fun fight. I get better at it every attempt, and I've really come to appreciate how well the whole encounter is designed. So AGS really deserves all the praise for this one. But enough gushing, let me get to the guide. I'm going to walk through the different phases of the fight. So this opening phase is a standard tank and spank with some spicy moves from Neishatun thrown into the mix. He'll randomly rotate through 5 different attacks. So let's go over them. So this first one is a 3-circle arrow shot that you see on the ground. I feel there's more than enough time to get out of these. It's really not much of a threat. Then you have this tracking shot that leaves a fire trail. This is the one to avoid. It can easily one-shot people. There is a tail with a rune sign appearing above the target's head, so just watch out for it on yourself and do a slight delay dodge. I find it pretty forgiving on the actual tracking, so it should be easily avoided. I think you can also move in one direction, left or right, to avoid it. If you're looking out for it, like I said, it's easy to avoid, but it's also just as easy to accidentally fall into the path of this if Neishatun is targeting someone else. So don't feel too bad if you get hit that way. It's fairly common. One of his other attacks here is this barrage of arrows, which also has a rune above the target's head as a tell. Again, just keep moving and you should be okay. His least threatening attack, in my opinion, is this shower of arrows, which doesn't seem to do much damage, but it can interrupt your attacks or interrupt if you're trying to pick someone up. It's really just an annoyance more than anything. Finally, he has a tail whip, sometimes in the back, sometimes in the front, with a really quick tell before he does it. But with everything going on, it's easy to get smacked by this thing, so don't feel too bad. Which is why it's important for the tank to place Neishatun in this general distance from the edge that I'm showing on the screen. I consider this optimal. It's not right in the middle of the arena, which can cause problems later on, and it's not right at the edge, which risks people getting knocked off. If the tank is able to set this position, any tail whips will generally keep you in the arena if you're hit. So try and communicate this to the tank if they don't know. Essentially, these 5 moves are in a random rotation throughout the whole fight. So as a melee DPS, you're looking out for those runes that can appear above your head, and you're trying to dodge, iframe, the tail whips through the whole thing. There's only one additional move added to his repertoire in the later phases, which I'll get to when we talk about it. So after smacking Neishatun around a bit, he'll crawl into a hidey hole, and these effing things will start to appear. The fire circles. This is where it starts to get real. Now, this second phase, which I'll call it, is an introduction to this mechanic, so it's not too hard once you get the hang of it. But essentially, the arena is covered in these circles in various overlapping patterns. Now, it's not really any set pattern in this phase. It's pretty much random, so you just have to watch out where you're standing and either stand in the gaps between two of these circles or on the other side of the arena completely. I think a lot of parties will wipe the first time they experience this, but it's fairly easy to get the hang of once you've seen it a few times. These circles are no bueno. If you are caught in one, you take a burst of fire damage, and more importantly, a stack of burning. This is a special stack of burning. It can't be cleansed with your standard perks or potions that you normally use to cleanse debuffs, and it lasts a long time. I want to say it lasts until the end of the fight, but I'm not 100% sure of that. At any rate, you want to avoid them. I can take 3 stacks max personally, and I absolutely need a healing circle and pots to keep me up if I did. 4 stacks or higher is pretty much insta-death. One thing I like to do here to help with orientation is to get to this spot that you're seeing on the screen. I can basically see the entry portal outside of the arena. I find generally this is a safe spot to stand. There are of course times where you will have to move, but generally it's not too far to a safe spot from here in this phase. So you may want to use this as a tip as well. It's really helped me out. Another tip to stay consistently out of the fire is try and keep close to the middle edge, how I'm showing you here. This gives you enough time to move to another safe spot, especially if you have to cross the whole middle to get to a safe spot. Less movement is best in my opinion. Just stay frosty and only move when you need to. You should zoom out the camera with your mouse wheel to help see a wider area, and you can also adjust the FOV in your graphic settings in the game to help out as well. Alright, so survive roughly 45 seconds of the fire circles, and that's phase 2. On to phase 3, which is Neishatun reappearing somewhere in the arena and making a beeline to the last threat, which is generally the tank. So the tank in this video here is doing a wonderful job of getting ahead of everyone to take Neishatun's rush attack towards the middle of the arena. The boss will either do a tail slam, which can one-shot a lot of builds, or a running tail whip, which has a high chance of knocking you out of the arena. So as a DPS, your job is to stay away from the tank until after this move, then move in right away to resume your attacks. Phase 3 is also the introduction of a new mechanic called the Corruption Core. Neishatun will summon this orb, and it's the DPS's job to burn it down as fast as possible before it explodes. In classic MMO terms, this is a DPS check. If it explodes, it will do a big pushback knockdown move and put on a stack of that special burning to everyone in the party. This is where pugs have a lot of trouble. It's best to have someone on voice call out that the Corruption Core is spawned so the DPS can focus it. Depending on how good the DPS is in your party, there could be little leeway in how much time you have to burn it down. So refocusing DPS attention immediately to this thing is key. Also, a really important note here, generally the Corruption Core will spawn on a ranged player. So healers and ranged DPS need to stay close to the rest of the party so there isn't any delay in the melee DPS getting to the core. This is also why some people will not bring melee DPS into the dungeon. You may see that in global chat. It's because as ranged, it's just easier dealing with this mechanic. But those people are stupid, and with just a bit of communication, you should be okay. Just be aware, in most cases, the orb will spawn almost immediately after Neishatun reappears from the ground and does his tank rush attack. So look out for it and be prepared. While the DPS is focused on the core, the tank should be keeping Neishatun away from that group. Now, all the while, in this and future phases, there are fire circles appearing on the ground, and Neishatun is going to go through his special attack rotations we talked about. The rule of thumb, though, is the orb is a priority. If you have to eat a circle stack to kill the orb, do it. One stack of burning should be manageable by anybody. Just keep your head up and watch out for those Neishatun attacks. Alright, phase 4. Neishatun goes into hiding again, and the fire circles cover more of the arena, and the game will throw ads at you. The ads themselves aren't too much of a threat, especially in the regular dungeon or lower mutations. The problem they present is stagger. They have a pull-in move and their hits cause immediate stagger, which can freeze you and prevent you from moving out of a fire circle that appears at your feet. It's best if the party is stacked up and moving together in the same direction to help focus these mobs down and not keep them so spread out that you can't handle it. Staying together is kind of hard to do in a pug, so try and do your best. One thing as a melee DPS I like to do is move to the center of the arena just after the circles appear. This gives you enough time to react and find a safe spot. Now, this isn't always ideal because you also need to burn the ads, but I have found it much easier to get to a safe spot and cover the ads as they come to you rather than chasing them around the arena. This, I would say, is a standard way to deal with the phases that have the fire circles and ads, but I recently learned a trick that someone shared in a run. Apparently, a fire circle will not appear at an area where a mob has spawned. So as I'm showing you, we all grouped up on this spawn spot, did not kill the ads. This is important. If you kill the ads that spawned at that spot, a circle will appear. So the tank can define stab to grab all the ads and just wait out the phase. The rest of the group can lay on AoE stuns or knockdowns to help. This type of coordination is hard to do in a standard pug though, so I would say if you got good comms with the group and they are all on the same page, this is the best method to deal with this and other phases that have ads, but I also feel it's perfectly fine just to look out for yourself and avoid the circles. Kill ads as you see them, and you should be Gucci. Alright, onward to phase 5. This is essentially the final phase. It'll just repeat phases 4 and 5 over and over from here. Neishatun reappears, does his tank rush move, may or may not call an orb. There are more circles on the ground to avoid, and he also has an additional move now, the one I mentioned earlier, this ground slam, which can be really nasty and lay on a burning stack. Don't have much time to avoid it. One thing I've started doing is saving my cooldown in this phase until after he does this, just so I'm not caught mid-animation and can't avoid it. The corruption core will spawn at some point, so just make sure to prioritize it and keep burning Neishatun any chance you get, and hopefully that leads to a kill. You may see another fire circle phase repeat if your DPS is behind, but there are no new mechanics. This is pretty much it. Like I said, phases 4 and 5 will repeat until you kill him. One last thing on the fight, I want to show you this safe spot that you can stand to avoid the fire circles. This is getting pretty popular in pug groups. I've seen a lot of people demanding that everyone does this. I'm not a huge fan of it. I feel like it's pretty much a cheese method of getting through the fire circles. I wouldn't be surprised if the devs somehow patch this out as well. But basically, you just stand here in this spot. I'll link a video that goes into more details on this, and you're basically safe from all of the mechanics. Now, in the ads phases, the ads will still come to you and hit you, and you could potentially be hit out of that and into the fire. Most groups will just keep stunning the ads and keeping them away until the phase is over. I just find that all of that just way too much complication, especially in a pug group. I would suggest that you try and convince everyone just to do it the normal way. With some practice, it's really not that bad. And that is the end of this guide. I hope you find it useful, especially if you're struggling with the fight. Keep at it. Coordinating and synchronizing with a group of people to down a difficult boss fight like this is such a thrill. It's a unique experience to MMOs, and it's why I love the genre and this game so much. I'm sure you'll experience it on this fight if you haven't yet. And thank you for making it this far. I'm just starting out on YouTube. If you like this content, please consider hitting the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please hit that subscribe. It's how I know I'm on the right track. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you in the next pug group.